Yo, what's up everyone? I'm ChessWiz. I am speedrunning LEGO Star Wars 3 or LSW3. I'm joined with Chimkin.
Hello.
Oh, well, he's gonna be doing most of the talking because it's very hard to talk competently in this game in 1P2C because the 1P2C is very difficult. So, without further ado, we can get this started. Three, two, one, go.
All right. So, like Chess said, this is a pretty heavy 1P2C game. It's one of the early co-op or split screen games, excuse me. And as a result, there's some pretty large levels with large level layouts that you can explore. Though we're starting off in a level that's actually not in the Clone Wars television show, like most of the rest of them are. This is the arena from the episode 2 movie, Attack of the Clones, and this is more like a prologue to the actual story of the game. So, in this level, Chess is going to deal with these three different boss enemies here, and he's got a bit of a trick for this first one, where he can kind of get him stuck on the Reek. The Reek is the one that he's riding. I believe it's the Nexu is the one that he's fighting. He can kind of get the Nexu stuck on him, and then after the iframes wear off, you can just attack him, and that saves from having to run around and chase this guy. Um,
Like what's gonna happen a little bit right
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Unfortunately, I lost
Some
it there.
sometimes he can't get away from you. And this guy is the Acklay. Little more standard boss fight here. You get rid of the legs, and then he falls down, or then you can grapple him, and then he falls down, and you can do a little special Jedi attack with that blue circle on the ground, and repeat a couple times. Much like a lot of the other early LEGO games, there is a way to get zero studs on this game, and it does save time in the first level um, from not having to watch the status screens. But this is probably one of the least consistent ones out of the games that allow it, since it's pretty difficult to consistently die right at the end, and you do need to take deaths to like these random enemies in order to lose your studs. So I'm sure Chess will make an attempt to go at it, but it's definitely not a guaranteed zero studs every time in this game.
So far, it's going very well. Zero studs
Yeah,
on player two, and player one has just a little bit.
yeah. This is like a one death here. And this level's almost over. There's only you should help rescue the Jedi here. Ooh.
Oh, couldn't avoid that one.
Yeah, that was kind of an unfortunate timing, and that death made it pretty hard to.
Oh, this
Oh,
should be good
maybe,
though.
maybe. Ooh,
Dude,
oh, there you go.
let's go.
Zero studs. Awesome.
That saves about 10 seconds in this next level.
Yeah, since that skips the status screen here. So, like we were saying, this is Lego Star Wars 3, The Clone Wars, based off of episodes of the first two seasons of the television show. And a lot of the levels are based off of first season episodes. If you're familiar with the show, you'll probably recognize some of the level cutscene or some of the layouts of the levels. I guess if we're not watching the cutscenes, it's a little harder to ID, but um, yeah, definitely pretty cool that they adapted from that TV show. It'd be cool if they did a second Clone Wars game, though I think it's a little too far past that at this point. But because we're going through the Clone Wars, there isn't like a proper movie we're going through. There's three different storylines. So there's the Dooku storyline, the Asajj Ventress storyline, and the Grievous storyline. We're starting with the Dooku storyline. That's the standard one to start with, and that takes us. This is basically chronologically the one that happens right after the prologue, since this is the Battle of Geonosis that takes place basically during the end of Episode 2, right after the arena and the early bit of the Clone Wars television show. So this is the first ground battle level, which is a new and type of level that is exclusive to this game. Basically, it's like you have to take over the various command points the enemies hold, and this is probably the most basic one. It's basically just destroy the different bases, and then the level ends. And that was actually like really solid. That was there's a bunch of different ways you can destroy them, but the fastest way to do it is using the Hailfire droid, which means you have to take a Hailfire droid from the enemy, but it can be a bit tricky because they path in different ways and they get killed very easily. But it looked like he was able to get two Hailfire droids there and keep them all the way to the end, which is the ideal situation there.
Can
So
I read a quick donation?
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a $45 donation from Big Soul that says $5 per death and 9 deaths in total in the Alpha Team run. Good luck, chess.
It's
Awesome.
Pixel.
Yeah, GG's on that run there. We're immediately into another ground battle level here, and this one is probably the least consistent one in the game. You have to destroy these towers with proton torpedoes, and they're a little bit difficult to get a hold of because you don't have any vehicles that are your own in this this level. You have to steal them off from the enemy, and if you're in an enemy ship for too long, a ship flies down from above you and steals it from you, and that makes it pretty difficult to get these torpedoes that are only in one location and then bring them elsewhere in time. So he's going to have to switch out to a different vehicle there to reset that timer. And while he's doing that, his other player is getting these shields down so he's able to shoot these torpedoes. And sometimes the enemy ships like to go right in the path of your torpedoes as well, which can be rather annoying.
Rhino is also in the way.
Yeah.
I have to move
all
around.
sorts of nonsense. A lot of variance in this level, though. I think overall that wasn't that bad.
Oh, average, yeah.
Yeah. So that's another ground battle. There's a lot of ground battles in this game. I think there's about 6 or 7 of them. They vary from simple destroy all the enemy command posts to more structured, like do a specific event, and we'll see those later on. But we're going to go into a level that's not a ground battle level here. I believe this is the ship level. Yeah. So,
Yes.
Ship levels in this game are a little bit different than the ones in, say, Star Wars: The Complete Saga, because you can land ships and then get out and go run around and do things. And that's usually done in order to like progress some checkpoint on the ship. Like in this case, the ship is getting destroyed, and we need to. I'm actually not sure what the objective here is. I know you have to turn on these 3 things. I'm not really sure what they are though.
They're supposed to be water towers because the ship is on fire. And we have to.
I see.
Yeah.
That
But
makes sense.
we also. The objective for this first phase is to turn the water on and also leave the platform. So I have to get into a gunship for each time to actually leave. I can't just drop out and leave right away.
Yeah, these levels do have an interesting mechanic where if you're on the ground and you drop out and drop back in, you'll drop in a ship. But like Chess was saying, this level has a check to make sure you've actually left the area after turning on the fire hose thing. So right here, you're going to see with Ahsoka, he's going to pull the lever and then immediately ends as soon as his gunship gets fully out of the ship.
Yeah, and that satisfies the leaving requirement, even though it's not technically the same character.
Yeah. And if you were watching the 5 through 7 or Pirates runs from yesterday, you'll notice this next piece of tech here. This is known as a camera pan skip. If you drop in player 2 right as the camera pan starts, it gives you control during the back half of the camera pan. You're able to move, which saves time, and you'll see that all across this game. So now that we have, I believe there's a interesting skip here, right?
There's a drop and warp coming up.
Oh, okay.
Also,
Gotcha.
landing both players inside of here isn't completely intentional by the devs, but able to just barely get in.
Yeah. I doesn't like the thing shut or something like that you're not allowed to get in after a certain amount of time, something like that.
Yeah, so it's not 100% known why, but only one person can enter, and then as soon as they enter, you no longer get the prompt to be able to enter with the second player. But if you stay in that area the entire time, then you'll get it eventually, and if you spam the button, then you are able to get in with both players. And that just saves a few seconds in less movement. And here's another camera pan skip. Oh, I have a keyboard locked up. We're good, though.
And that's the end of that level. Already halfway through the Dooku storyline. The first couple levels here are pretty fast. with all these ground battle and vehicle levels. And we actually have another ground battle right after this. Dooku is the one that's full of all the ground battles. This next level, I believe it's called... No, this is Defenders of Peace, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this immediately follows, I believe, the story of the last level where we crash onto this planet and we have to help these peaceful little guys against the bad dudes that are coming here. But they turned it into a ground battle, so we have to do some ground battling here. And there is a big gun ship thing towards the end of this level, and that's the objective here, is to destroy that. So that the level ends when the big enemy vehicle gun thing gets destroyed. Everything else doesn't matter. So all the objectives needed to destroy that, involving taking out some shields, getting rid of this barrier, that's the only thing we're going to focus on. And all the rest of the enemy structures and ships don't actually matter for level completion.
In fact, if you destroy one of the things and build an item, then that plays a little cutscene. So by not building anything, it actually saves like 30 seconds from not having to watch a cutscene.
Wow, that's crazy. So yeah, the only things we need to do here is destroy these 3 shield generators, and we can get one of them on the left with Anakin, and the other 2 can get taken out by this tank. And once that's done, these ships can come over here and destroy this guy really quickly. If you don't have a ship, destroying that with lightsabers takes like 35-40 seconds. But with ships, it's just, you can just melt it real quick, which is very nice. And the next level is probably the longest, most complicated ground battle in the game. It's not probably, it is. It is the longest, most complicated ground battle in the game. This is Weapons Factory. And if you thought all these levels so far are pretty short, this one is definitely not short. It's a pretty long one. And the reason for that is because we have to play through this same room 3 different times. And then we also have a normal bit of gameplay after that isn't a ground battle. So this first phase, there's only one enemy command point, and we have to destroy all the buildings, and then the second phase triggers. And each phase adds more buildings, more command points, more complexity. But this first one's pretty simple. It's just 3 different barracks here. You can just destroy those with anything. But there are a couple different types of buildings. So there's the standard ones that we've been seeing. There's silver ones, which require a specific kind of, like a stronger ship to destroy. The big 2-leg walker here is one of the ones that can destroy silver objects. And then there is gold objects, which require a laser-focused ship to destroy. And we're going to see some of those gold objects later on in the third phase here. And we'll need to build a few buildings in order to unlock that, because the way these levels work is you have options to build some types of buildings, but the number or the kinds of buildings you can unlock depends on how many command points you own. So the more command points you own, the more options you have to build. And the gold ship is one of the more expensive options. So we only have 2 command points right now, and we need 4 command points in order to build the gold option. So Chess is going to really quick go build a barrack over there just to claim one of these empty command points. And then he's going to take out this command point over here by Luminara and build what he needs over there, which will give him 4 command points, which unlocks the 4th ring of building types, which gives him access to that laser ship that he wants. There's a ton of complexity in these. These are genuinely incredibly hard 1v2Cs. Though sometimes you can just stand with a character and spam lightsaber blasts into them, like there. But now that he has this command point here, he's going to be able to take a laser ship here, and he's going to do a bit of a triangulation. So one ship is going to go down, and the other one's going to go along the hypotenuse, if you're looking at the triangle there in the mini-map. So this guy's going to go straight down here, since that is the bottleneck, is to get to this golden thing here so that the other guy can destroy the silver barracks since, of course, like I was saying, only the guy with the laser can destroy the gold buildings. Since he's already over there, he's going to take out the antenna there as well. And then they'll both make their way over to the left. And this is the third phase, the most complicated phase of this level. After this, we have a normal ground level section. Really feels like it probably could have been 2 different levels, maybe more like 1.5 levels. It's definitely a long level. There's a lot going on here. But that was pretty clean. If your ship gets destroyed at any point during this level, it's a pretty big time loss because you have to go find another ship that has the same ability as the one that you lost. But fortunately, you can actually reset your hearts in those by jumping out and jumping back into the vehicle, which can save you from having to lose your ship. But now that we're back into normal character mode, we have the 2 Padawans here, Ahsoka and Barriss, and they're going to go into the weapons factory and get rid of the big, bad ship thing. But we got a couple of doors in our way first. So we'll open these with these triangle blocks. And we actually have our first proper skip here in a moment. So a lot of the ground levels, there isn't ground battles, excuse me, there isn't a lot of things that you can skip. It's mostly just getting to the objective as fast as possible, but you're supposed to build like a fan platform thing here, but if you actually jump off of this object, you can get enough height to get into this like permanent upward vortex of air that normally the fan would create, and then you can skip the creation of the fan, which is a cool, neat little skip there. And we're going to see a camera pan skip here, since you really do not want Barriss to get interacted with by that guy whose head she stole, because when that happens, you lose the helmet, and if that guy gets his helmet back, it is not what you want to see.
Missed that one.
Bad thing.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunate, but that's alright. So now that all of these metal plates are open in the middle, this big tank thing can be used to destroy the base that created it, and that is the end of that level.
0.1 off gold. That's kind of cool.
Oh, wow, yeah. I was noticing the first half of that was going really well.
Yeah.
That is definitely a very tricky level with all the 1P2C needed.
I'd say the most difficult level in this game. Just a lot of 1P2C, as you could see, and as you've mentioned many times.
So now we're on to, I guess, our first proper exclusive, like, character-focused level with no vehicles, really. So this is the Legacy of Terror. It follows canon-wise immediately after the previous level. The idea here is we're trying to find Luminara because she got lost in, like, this cave. And there's a small piece of tech right there. If you have a forcible object and you have a character jump on top of it, and repeatedly jump, you can just force the object up while they're not standing on it. So if you just spam single jumps while the character's moving up, you can just make them get extra height. And that skips a little puzzle there on the left. And once this door goes into place, there's going to be another short camera pan that plays. But that, of course, can be skipped just like the other ones.
Yeah. Essentially, if I'm ever dropping out a player, it's because I'm going to do a camera pan skip.
Yeah, one of the good... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're fine.
I was going to say, one of the good things about these games with split screen is that even if you're not using a character, there's really no reason to drop out if you don't have to, since you can just leave them where they are and focus on the other player, and that doesn't lose any time because of the split screen. Which is a nice aspect of these later... or I guess the not early LEGO games, the not very early LEGO games. And so this is the last level of the Dooku storyline. Pretty fast episode. A lot of levels that are just kind of speed through them really quick with the ground battles. We're going to be on to Grievous next, I believe, and Grievous is an episode that has a lot longer levels. There's a lot of levels that are full normal ground human levels without vehicles, and those have a tendency of taking a lot longer in this game just because there's a lot more content in them. I think a lot of the times with the ground battle levels, the intention of how they expected you to play is really easy to circumvent by just going exactly to the thing that you need to destroy, which makes them a lot shorter than they were probably intended to be. Which is why, in general, I think those tend to be the shorter levels. And we're now on to this very cool boss fight with the giant slug queen lady.
Yeah, we get to a little bit of an auto-scroller fight right here. She throws her eggs at us, and we have to wait until we get the right egg. What a few auto-scrollers in the game, actually. So I think this is actually the only one, really.
Yeah. So after a while, she'll send out a purple egg, and you see those little pegs on the wall on the right that you're supposed to put eggs into. You'll plug those in over there, but although there's 3 on the wall, you actually only need to put 2 of them in for the giant invisible wall up top to disappear, so you can go up and grab your lightsaber that the Geonosis up there has. So as long as the second and third one are plugged in, then you're able to get up there. Don't need to wait for the third one, or the first one, I guess.
Yeah, and if there's an invisible wall blocking us right now, so we just need 2 to plug in, but it cannot be this first one and the third one. It has to be the second and the third one. Otherwise, the wall will not despawn. So I'm going to try to avoid that bottom one. Otherwise, I have to wait a whole new cycle.
Yeah, and now we have to go to the left and do something similar. Though there is a bit of a small skip here. So you're intended... Now she's going to be throwing bombs, and you use the bombs to blow up all this stuff in front of the walls you're supposed to use to get up. But you can see with the other player over there on the left, as soon as that bomb is destroyed, you can actually get up over there instead of having to do the normal puzzles. You can have that character ready to go and save a little bit of time there. Got another quick camera pan here. You can stand on the invisible collision there while waiting for the stuff to fall from the sky. And now we have this giant, freakish wall of zombie aliens chasing us, but fortunately they're not very fast, or at least they are slower than us. So that's no matter. We can just run to the end here.
This is this game's version of an escape sequence, like in Star Wars. But we're so fast that we get there a lot sooner.
Yeah. Fun fact, so that if you may have seen it just for a second there in the cutscene, there is a jump up puzzle with the Jedi there, and there's actually a mini kit at the top of that, but unfortunately in story the end level trigger is before you even get to that, so you have to play all the way to the end in free play to get that mini kit, which is pretty awesome.
Fun fact
Unfortunate
is
that they put it there and they made it impossible to get in story.
yes. Now onto the Grievous storyline.
Yeah, so this is a completely separate series of events, and I guess really all the storylines have, the levels are not really like in order or like related all that much. A couple of them are, but this episode at least is pretty completely distinct from the Dooku episode. So most of the levels in this episode relate to General Grievous and his antics. We're going to see him a lot in this episode. But first we have to deal with this ship. So we're going to place a ton of bombs throughout this level. And this is a great showcase of how unfortunate it is that there's only 4 hearts onto characters in this game, because sometimes these droids are really good at killing you very quickly. And it's very common to take like a ton of deaths in this room just because there's way too many droids to quickly deal with them all. And every time they shoot you, that's a quarter of your health down.
So far I'm at like 2 deaths, and
yeah,
it's gonna keep going up.
Yeah. Honestly, 2 is probably pretty standard for this time. Like, you just kind of expect to take a couple of deaths just because of the nature of the room. But there is a bunch of cutscenes that can be skipped. There's a buffered cutscene skip right there. And unfortunately, Cody is the only character that can place down bombs. So there's 4 bombs you need to place right now, and Cody's the one that has to place all of them. So the general strategy here is you open up all the things that you might need to open up with Goldie and Ahsoka here, and then you switch to Cody and you start just throwing down the bombs as fast as you can. Fortunately, like, these Droidekas here are not going to get in your way. They're not a problem. They're supposed to be, but...
What a snipe.
Yeah, good shot there from the Droideka. But because Cody's the only one that actually can use bombs, in this last section, there isn't too much you can do with 1P2C, since these doors open at the same time. You mostly just have to run down the hallway with Cody and then come all the way back and run down the hallway again with Cody. But fortunately, Cody's jump roll is pretty good at dodging bullets. They're not very good at hitting him when he does that, so you can mostly get through this without dying pretty consistently, despite the fact that there's
Dude.
Good shot there. Yeah, you know, it's a good thing this game doesn't crash when there's like 40 enemies on screen.
Yeah.
This is the first example of the game putting you in 2 different places, and this is really where the 1P2C comes in this game in full force, because essentially Chess is playing 2 different levels at once here. Since these 2 characters are in completely separate areas, Ahsoka's doing a boss fight, and Anakin's trying to rescue R2-D2. And there's a lot of balancing back and forth in these sections. A lot of them, one side interacts with the other, so how the bottleneck of the area works out changes depending on what's happening. So right now, the main focus is on Ahsoka's side, since once Grievous goes away, then the events on Anakin's side can actually finish. But until then, R2-D2, although he's created now, he can't actually interact with this until Ahsoka's side is done, which those finished just on time there, basically perfectly synced there.
Typically when I 1P2C, I try to sync the players up, so as my focus is divided between both players, I try to focus on the slower player, and then that way they can sync up a lot better like that. So I knew Anakin was a little bit slow, so I put a little bit more emphasis on him, but that way I can get them better at the same time, if that makes sense.
Now this room, R2 is doing a boss fight with Goldie, and there's a ton of cutscenes that play based off of the things he's doing up there. And in the meantime, Anakin's going to set up for the second half of this room and for later puzzles that'll pop up, like this wall right here that needs to be destroyed. Destroy that so that R2 can get over there. R2 will raise up the ship here that has another ship inside of it in pieces for some reason. But we need the Starfighter not to be the Twilight, I believe is what it's called. So Anakin will go ahead and build that.
Although the Twilight would absolutely work in our current situation.
Yeah, I'm not sure why we need the Jedi Starfighter, but we have it now, so that works.
Oh, that's very unfortunate.
Oh wow,
death.
that's unfortunate. Yeah, that was a really because if you jump into the ship and you're in the ship when the cutscene starts, then you spawn over here in the ship, which saves a little bit of time. But unfortunately,
can you get a twofer? Oh, I can.
Ooh, the double shot. Yeah, so torpedoes in this game, if they hit a torpedo target on the way to their intended torpedo target, they will just destroy both of them, which is pretty nice. And I know it's possible to hit all 3 of those in one shot, but I'm not sure if that ends up being fast or not.
It takes a little bit to set up, so it doesn't make it, and it's a kind of a tricky shot, so it's not completely fast, but if someone's out there can do it, then dude, you're gonna be the fastest one out there.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, now we're on to a ship level here. So this is part of the 2-level grouping for the Malevolence arc, which I believe was the first full arc of the show after the first episode. So we have to infiltrate the Malevolence here, which is the big ship that we're currently on. This is a rather short level, and it's followed up by a very long level immediately afterwards. So this level, basically the structure here is you need to get a bunch of torpedoes, destroy all these targets, and then once they're all destroyed, another target pops up there, you destroy that, and the level ends. So there's 2 different levels, or vertical levels of this ship. So there's the upper one and the lower one, and if you take one of these Jedi rings, you can change the elevation that you're at. Most of the targets are up on the top, so there's 2 different sections. There's the one on the left and the one on the right. So Chess is going to split up his focus here so that we're focusing on the 2 different big sections here. After pieces of the ship explode, there'll be more targets behind that. Conveniently, there's also another torpedo dispenser right here to refill on those. So the Y-wing on the left, or on the top now, is going to take out the rest of those, and Plo Koon's ship is going to wait at this target at the bottom, be ready to destroy that when that ends. And that will be the end of that level. Pretty fast one there, especially without cutscenes. I think even with cutscenes, this is not a very long level.
No, yeah, it's exonerated by the 1P2C as well. Being able to do 2 things at the same time speeds up this level a ton.
For sure. But this next level is quite a bit longer. So now that we disabled the big gun on the Malevolence, we're now going to go inside of it and try and fully destroy the ship. And this is another great example of how dangerous and deadly these droids can be. They're actually so good at just shooting you down to low health. This is in the train room. You can throw R2 across these platforms to deactivate the trains. Unfortunately, you can't make it across these tracks without turning off the train. We'll have another bit of a skip towards the end of this room. This game doesn't have a ton of skips. There's more in the 3rd episode. And there's a couple in this episode as well. But I guess the first half of this game does a lot of the levels that don't really have skips, just because they don't really have anything that would be available to skip. It's mostly just one big room that ends on a specific completion, or just running through some rooms that just don't have skips. But this game does have those, and we will see those more later on. In the meantime, when we're not doing those sorts of skips that we'll see later on, there's mostly just a lot of very intense execution 1P2C stuff, which we've been seeing the whole run. And it's cool that this game has that. I think having some skips with a mix of a bunch of execution is really cool for speed games. And speaking of skips, we'll see another one right here. So you're supposed to use that crane to build a platform or something, but you can actually rotate R2 along the safe area and then chuck him across to skip that entirely. And now that we're there, we're going to go find Padme and 3PO, and we're once again split into 2 separate groups, and the groups especially interact with each other a lot here. So you notice there's fire in front of us on both sides, and this R2 panel on the right turns off the fire on both sides, and there's a lot of back and forth there where doing something on one side allows both sides to progress. We'll see that here in a moment. Unfortunately, 3PO is just like an absolute bot in this game. He's so slow, and he is... Anytime he gets shot, he can just get like stun locked down to 0 hearts. And it's not great. He's not a great character, but fortunately you can force throw him at other, like across the room, to help him get there faster. And now that the vacuum seal is back activated again, we got a whole bunch of puzzles to do here. Though fortunately, R2's puzzles are pretty straightforward. It's just using each of the panels once or twice, excuse me. The other side's a little bit more involved. There's a memory puzzle here with C-3PO. There's a couple of those. If you saw the Indiana Jones run this morning, you probably saw some of those earlier.
Wow. Misclick.
Yeah, those can be a little tricky. now we're entering into, there's basically a boss fight on the right side with General Grievous, and, well, now it's on the bottom. And on the top, Padme and Anakin are in, like, the control room of the ship. So the idea is, I believe, Obi-Wan is, like, distracting General Grievous and just causing mayhem down here, while Anakin and Padme are guiding the ship towards destruction by launching it into a planet, which probably is not a great thing to be doing. I'm sure that's going to cause a lot of issues for someone, but that's just kind of Anakin's style. He definitely commits a couple of war crimes throughout the course of the show, and, you know, it's just classic Anakin Skywalker.
There's only droids on this ship. No
I
one's
guess
getting
that's
hurt in
true.
there.
Yeah. I hope there's
Hopefully.
no one on the planet, though.
Oh, that might be bad. Also, a lot of camera pans right here.
Oh yeah, ton of camera pans here. And unfortunately, when you're in this split screen mode where you basically have two parties of characters, you can't skip the camera pans by dropping in. They just don't work when your characters are like that. So, unfortunately, there's just no way to skip those. And this is what I was talking about with C-3PO just getting completely stun locked by droids. He gets
Left,
shot
down,
once
right.
and he just can't move for multiple seconds. And now Anakin's gonna guide the ship to be directed towards the planet. And now that that is the case, he's all good to go. He just needs to clear out the rest of the droids in the room, and Obi-Wan and R2 need to finish fighting Grievous here and then take the elevator up top. And then once they do that, the parties converge once again. And once they've converged, that's actually, then they can, you know, you have one group again, and as long as both of those two objectives finish, the level will end. So this is the end of the Obi-Wan Anakin or R2-D2 part. As soon as R2-D2 makes his way over to this button and they go up this elevator, that'll be the end of that. And then Anakin is finishing up.
Oh, Padme was stuck in the door. That's why it wasn't closing.
There's just one wave of enemies left here. And then this door over here opens.
Oh, that was a little early. Whoops.
Yeah. And then that's the end of the level. So, very involved one there. Very complicated level. That was probably the level I had the most issue with when I was running this game.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very difficult level, and a lot can go wrong. And it's hard.
Sorry, go ahead.
And that level especially, it's really hard to see what your time loss is because you're doing two things at the same time, and I don't know, that one is just especially hard.
Mm-hmm. This is probably our first level that has a lot of pretty unintended things that we do throughout it. So, do you do the FPS tricks here, or do you just do the...
I just did normal stuff, yeah.
Okay. This game does have a couple of high FPS tricks that we'll get to see later on, but this level has some ways to skip rooms using high FPS, but all those skips also have non-high FPS variants that are not really that much different as far as time goes, so we'll see how those go here. But this first hallway is just mainly you have to run to the end and then kill all the droids in this room that Fisto is near. And fortunately, this game, the deflects are very, very nice. It's very easy to deflect very quickly just by spamming attack. And this is the lair of Grievous, so we were tricked into coming here because we thought Newt Gunray was here or something like that, but he's actually not here. It was a trap, and now we're stuck in Grievous's lair. Very spooky. And in this next room, we're meant to fight General Grievous, but we're not going to do that. So you're supposed to, like, build him, and once you build him, then there's, like, a whole boss fight, but you can actually use this piece, his torso, and use that tech we were talking about earlier where you can jump off forcible objects, and there's no ceiling here, so you can just get over the wall and go straight to the next room, and that skips an entire boss fight and all whole bunch of nonsense. And we can do a camera pan skip here with a very well-timed jump to skip puzzle from falling down there. And just like that, we skipped 2 of the bigger puzzles in this level. Now we have another boss fight with this big old guy. And the way this works is you get 2 grapples onto his hips, and then a Jedi goes on the Jedi attack spot. And then that needs to be done 4 times to kill this bad guy.
His name is Gore.
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 And you'll see Chess knows exactly where those blue spots are going to be. He's ready to go whenever one of them pops up there. And fortunately, it's really easy to just kind of stun this guy in place. Unlike the show, where the fight was pretty intense, and well, our companion still died during the cutscene, but the fight is a lot less intense in the game because we can kind of just spam attacks, and we know exactly where all the patterns are going to go, so there is nothing unpredictable about it. And now that we have escaped the lair of Grievous, we need to call our ship to go meet us here. And in order to do that, we will of course build a satellite dish and hook it up to this battery, as you do. And now that we're calling the ship, we have about a minute before it actually gets here, and we don't have really anything to do in the meantime, so General Grievous is going to come over and bother us, but nothing that he does is going to prevent the ship from getting here, so our 2 guys can just chill for a bit, maybe kill some folks if they desire.
I also want to try to go for 0 studs. It can save about 2 seconds in the status screen, but sometimes it just doesn't work, and I have no reason or no idea why. But hopefully it can still get it.
Yeah, so although you can skip status screens, it still does pop up on screen for a second, even like before you can skip it. So that was 0 studs. Hopefully we will completely skip the status screen.
The very last second, a silver stud was picked up somewhere. Who knows where. Also, hi Mikey.
Yes, hello Mikey. Famed LEGO Star Wars 3 runner Mikey is in the chat.
Yeah. He was the backup commentary in case Chimkin could not.
Yes, unfortunately I was able to make it, so we will not be seeing Mikey commentary. But this is the level Rookies, which is based off of my personal favorite episode from the first season of this show. Pretty solid banger, if you ask me. And it also has some cool stuff in it. So we are Commander Cody and Captain Rex, and we are visiting this outpost here. And Chess is going to jump into a kill plane and then use his body parts to jump across this gap. And now that these guys are in his party, he's going to use this piece of the ship that exploded at the top, right at the beginning of the level. He's going to push it into the wall and then jump on it to get it up on its end, and that will completely skip this boss fight with the worm. Clean, and there we go. Getting up here early means we don't need to do anything else because this is the only guy we need to beat all of the puzzles up here. Fortunately, all of the puzzles they put here are gold gun guy puzzles, so we don't need the other pieces of this. We don't need, because we have a couple different guys in our party. We have a guy with the minigun, we have a guy with the bazooka, and we have just a normal dude, our 3rd guy, as well as Cody and Rex. So a lot of the puzzles here are built around their various guns, since that's pretty much the only thing that differentiates these guys as far as capability goes. And now that we are done with this first room, we come into the command center here, where our friendly clones are going to realize that a whole invasion is planned on this command center, and they're going to have to do something to prevent that from happening. And these five guys are going to figure out something to do here. So now that cutscene played, I believe it's Heavy is the guy with the gun on the right.
Yes.
Yeah, so he is going to go get a bomb cart over here. Unfortunately, for some reason, the droids here are just, like, terrible at killing you, unlike the ones in the other levels. But fortunately, he's able to just do this just fine, and his half of the level is pretty bottlenecked by the other half, so what he's doing doesn't really matter all that much for time-wise. Other 4 clones on the left need to get the other 2 bomb carts that are behind these 2 doors. So Chess will do that. And then once those are in place, then the door opens, which allows the 3rd bomb cart on the right to get in. But like we said, it probably takes at least an additional 30 seconds to do the left side of this than it does to do the right. So he's just going to be waiting at this door for a minute while the rest of the left side of this room is finished. And so the whole idea here is they're trying to lure the invasion force into this command post and then blow it up. And originally they were planning on doing that with a remote control bomb. But spoilers for the show, unfortunately something goes awry with the remote control and Heavy has to stay behind and manually detonate it, and he does indeed perish in that, which is very sad. But his companions, Fives and Echo, go on to do a lot of other things later on in the series, and they're kind of 2 of the best characters in the show, so, you know, they're doing their thing, and that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Shoutouts to Fives, for real. He's a real homie.
They had such like a large arc and role in the show, despite never being known about before the show. Like they were introduced within the show, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, it's cool that they spent so much time on the actual clones. Definitely a cool part of the show. Now we are in the last level of Grievous. This is Grievous Intrigue. So Eth Koth, I believe, is this Jedi. He just got invaded by Grievous, and he has to fight off all these dudes. But unfortunately, this whole fight here is going to be in vain, because regardless of what you do, during the cutscene you get captured by Grievous and you have to be rescued by some other people. Which is unfortunate, but regardless, this fight has a lot of throwing objects at Grievous, and you'll see that Chess is going to do it in a way that basically immediately hits the guy on his head.
Crash.
And that minimizes the amount of time it takes to do that.
That mid-throw it's probably the most likely place you'll ever crash in this game. And so I'm happy that I did not crash there.
Yes. And now we have another section that is 2 completely different parties of characters. On the left, Obi-Wan is doing a whole boss fight with Grievous. On the right, Anakin is trying to rescue Eth Koth. And the left side of this does take a bit longer than the right. So Chess is going to have to try and prioritize these appropriately to get his characters on the left side in time here. The main thing on the right side that you're trying to do, you're trying to get rid of these various shields that are in the way, and you do that by destroying these blue balls on the wall. There's 3 of those there. Yeah, unfortunately they're on a timer, and it looks like the Super Railroad unintentionally took one of those out, but...
And that timer is pretty strict, too. Don't get a lot of lenience.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty hard to do 1v2C as well. And in the meantime, Obi-Wan's basically doing the exact same sequence of fighting that happened with Eth Koth at the beginning, where you throw stuff at Grievous, and then you hit Grievous, repeat. And now that Anakin is in the control room, using this panel, freeze Eth Koth. Now both, that half of the level is completed. It's just Obi-Wan's part now. It's actually a cool little skip here. So after this fight finishes, you kind of spam.
Oh my gosh! I'll be honest, I was not ready for that.
So that was the skip there. During the cutscene, Grievous is supposed to run through there, but if you do a camera pan skip, you can also run through those 2 doors and skip the 2 Jedi panels in the meantime, which saves a little chunk of time. Not a huge skip, but it does save some time. And now we have another quick boss fight with Grievous, where he's going to turn into a windmill here for a minute. And once that's done, I believe in the cutscene, Grievous just destroys this walkway, and then you're at the bottom of it. It's now vertical. And Anakin's going to go ahead and help these guys out from his ship, which conveniently lands in a place that has oxygen in space, which is awesome.
Oh, I never thought about that. That is so strange.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's just in space right now, but he can breathe just fine.
He is totally just in space. And actually, these guys are in too, because the glass is broken.
Yeah. I guess they are Legos. They're pretty good at not having to breathe. Alright, and now that Anakin's part there is done, mostly this is on the Obi-Wan crew to get to the hangar here, and Anakin's just waiting for his torpedoes to turn on over here. And then once that happens, then he'll be able to destroy these targets you see and get into the hangar to rescue the rest of the crew. And like I said, this is the last level of Grievous. That'll be 2 episodes done once we're done with this room, and we'll be on to the Asajj Ventress episode of the movie, which isn't entirely Asajj Ventress. There's actually a couple of other minor antagonists that show up that you need to fight, but it's mostly supposed to be Asajj Ventress. There's at least 2 or 3 levels that she's in.
And do not have enough torpedoes. Oh, that did get it.
And with that, that will be the Jedi rescued here once this ship lands. And fortunately, looks like the game did not crash there. I know in Wii Super's Grunt Percent run, the game crashed in that end cutscene, and that is an 11-minute game, or 11-minute level with cutscenes, so that was a pretty disastrous thing that happened there. But fortunately, that did not happen in the marathon, which is good. Now, like I said, we're on to Asajj Ventress. I believe, chronologically, this might be one of the earlier levels that happens in the story, since this takes place, I think, before the movie in the canon, since this is like where the movie takes place at the beginning, right before Anakin meets Ahsoka, and I believe this is supposed to take place right before that, because this is on Christophorus. Christopher says something like that.
Christophosis.
Christophosis, that's the one, yeah. Classic George Lucas planet name there. And so the first half of this level, we're trying to escape this tower with all the droids, and then once we get on that gunship, we're going to do a lengthy boss fight with Asajj Ventress. But we need to get rid of the guns that are shooting at the gunship before we're able to take it out.
Where's the guy?
Was that him
Oh,
over there?
he's way over here.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
an odd location for him to be. But he needs his hat in order to use the panel at the end here. Unfortunately, the guy got kind of stuck. It's not ideal, but it doesn't really matter that much as long as you get the helmet and you can finish this section. And now, like I said, we're on to the Asajj Ventress boss fight, and this is pretty lengthy. There's a lot of sequences here fighting Asajj Ventress. I guess they were trying to make up for the fact that they also put a couple of levels that deal with minor antagonists in this episode, so they really wanted you to know that, yeah, you're fighting Asajj Ventress here.
Yeah, this level is about half just directly fighting Asajj Ventress. Kind of cryzy.
So, I'm trying to think. I can't remember what the 6th level in this episode is. I know there's the 3 Ryloth levels. There's this level. Oh, no, yeah, it's Ambush. Ambush is the other one. Ambush and then the one on Naboo. That's right. So, I do think that she only has 2 levels in this episode that are really dedicated to her being a villain. And then there's 3 with Wat Tambor, and there's 1 with the evil doctor dude. I guess she's kind of involved with that, but she's not in the level.
Yeah. The only thing with the evil doctor dude is she contracts him, the doctor dude, in a cutscene prior to the level. And I guess after the level, she is upset because the doctor did not do good.
Yeah, I think he was trying to give like the entirety of Naboo some deadly pathogen or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot what virus it was called. But...
It's the blue shadow virus, I believe,
oh,
right?
duh. Yeah, that's the name of the level.
Yes. Yeah, we'll see that level in a minute. I think that's an enjoyable, amusing level.
Especially with cutscenes, honestly.
Yeah, the Jar Jar bits of those cutscenes are pretty great, and the part where there's that one clone trooper that makes the joke, and then Obi-Wan tells him to leave. That's also great.
Yeah, that is a very enjoyable.
Can I read a quick donation?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
We have $50 from Bricko, and it says Lego.
Yo, that's crazy.
Thank you,
Bricko
Bricko.
really said Lego.
Same, dude.
Yeah, so the comment from chat is mentioning how Ambush, which is the first episode of the show, is the second level of this storyline.
Oh,
It is
unlucky.
true, but I believe chronologically, Ambush. What is Asajj up to?
Yeah, she gets stuck in the corner sometimes, and you have to push her like that to get her away. Otherwise, you're soft locked. And unfortunately, that happened in this.
That's unfortunate. But yeah, although Ambush is the first episode of the show does not actually go chronologically. A lot of episodes happen at different times to where they're actually airing, and Ambush happens after this level chronologically in the story, since this one happens before the movie. I believe this is the first level chronologically, or first episode chronologically, excluding the... I know there's this one arc in season 3 that has an episode with the clones in Rookies prior to Rookies. It has like a prequel episode.
Oh, cadets.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that's what it's called. I'm not sure if that is before this, but other than that, this is definitely one of the earliest episodes chronologically.
I believe that one is like the first episode of season 3, and this game only has season 1 through 2.
Yeah. So this game definitely does not have anything earlier than this, I don't think. I was just thinking about the TV episodes.
I gotcha.
Now, a fun fact about this boss fight here is that occasionally, if you kill an enemy and you drop a heart and the heart lands on Asajj Ventress, she actually picks it up and gets an extra heart, which is really cool that that's a thing that can happen. So you really want to avoid that happening. Fortunately, did not happen here, and it's actually not that hard to make it avoid happening, though. I used to do that all the time unintentionally because I didn't realize that was a thing, and I would just lose like a minute in that room and have no idea what happened. So that's a fun fact for anyone looking to pick up this game. Make sure you don't do that.
I think the most amount of hearts I've given her is 3, which means that I needed to shoot her 3 times or 6 times total to fully kill her. That was not a very fun attempt.
Now we're on to Ambush, which was the pilot episode of the show. And this involves some clone troopers and Yoda doing some cool things. They're trying to do like a peaceful diplomacy mission or whatever, and then instead of peace, Asajj Ventress is just chilling with a bunch of droids, and we gotta prove that we're chill to the Tydoshan, something like that. I don't remember what the... Tridarian? Something like that. It's
that
an
sounds
alien
right.
Species.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one that Watto is. It's that species.
Wait, it's an alien species? Whoa.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think so. So we got 3 different ATTs here, and unfortunately, our guy that had the minigun got his arm broken by a dude, and now his arm is just kind of limp, and instead of a minigun, he has a battle droid head that he's throwing at people. So we have to use the super battle droids as our minigun character, which is easy enough. You just pick them up and direct them where you want them to shoot, and they will shoot it for you, which is very nice of them. And then Yoda is the one that cleans up the end of these ships, so he's got to jump in and blow it all up. And now there's going to be 5 different droidekas here that come in. And they can spawn in 3 different places. The first 2 always spawn there. And the third one over here you can actually destroy early. So the intent is that you're supposed to use the Force to force him under the rocks, and then you shoot the rocks. But if you shoot the rocks early, you can have him land on him as he's rolling by, which skips needing to have Yoda over there, which is a little slower because Yoda needs to be on the right to get rid of the first guy. It's a cool little optimization. And now that we're past that, we're going to go to Naboo for the Blue Shadow Virus, the level that features Jar Jar Binks. We actually saw him earlier on in the level Gungan General, but we did not make any comment about him because we were still talking about a lot of other things at the time. But now we have Jar Jar. Well, actually, not yet. But at some point, we will see Jar Jar on this level. First, we gotta... During the cutscene, Jar Jar and Padme got captured, and now we have to go rescue them. And although we have 2 different parties of characters here, pretty much everything on the left is blocked by what Obi-Wan is doing on the right with his gun. So once all these shield generators are destroyed, we can go into this big circle thing in the middle. And then once he goes down there and gets rid of a thing that's blocking... He drops a thing from one hallway down onto the other hallway, which helps us open this door in front of us here. Well, actually, the door's not there yet, because the group of our 2 people have not gone forward to activate the door, but it activates on its own if Obi-Wan does the little thing up there, and then they're gone. But we can avoid triggering a cutscene by not going forward there, so it makes sense to do that. Fortunately, Obi-Wan had us in mind before we even knew there was a problem.
Came well prepared.
Indeed,
Sounds like something that he would say.
Yes, absolutely. And now that we're past this bit, now we are Anakin, who is in a different part of the facility, and Anakin knows that his wife is in danger, as well as his good buddy Jar Jar Binks, and he's on his way to save the 2 of them, because he fares about equally about the both of them. You know, he has very similar levels of appreciation for the 2 of them. So, you know, since he cares equally about his 2 friends, he needs to go in here and rescue them both from the mad guy that's electrocuting them. Yeah, shout out to the fact that he's just, like, casually electrocuting the 2 of them.
Oh, look at them.
Does not look very good.
Pain.
Yeah, that's... Yikes, man. Fortunately, this guy, he's not... just cannot withstand being hit in the head with metal objects repeatedly, so... That's a good way of fighting him.
Does laugh a lot, too.
Yeah, and we do have a clone trooper in our party right now, but he disappears during this cutscene because he made a bad joke and Obi-Wan was not amused. That is actually the reason why he's no longer in your party. I'm not joking. That's real. And now we have another sequence where there's 2 different groups of characters in different parts of the level, and this is legitimately doing 2 boss fights at once here, which is pretty cool. So we'll have Padme and Jar Jar fighting little droid guy that has the vaccine or whatever in his clutches, and then Obi-Wan and Anakin are going to go over here and fight the good doctor, or the bad doctor, excuse me.
Yeah,
Dr.
that's
Bindi.
Yeah, the guy on the left is LEP Servant Droid, which is you talk about like the worst character in a Lego game, and this is the worst character in this Lego game. He has no special abilities. He walks slow. He does not fight anything. He's utterly useless. He's like Chancellor in TCS.
Yeah, and yet he gets his own boss fight. where he just hides in bushes and then runs in circles until you're able to shoot him. Classic. And while that's happening, Dr. Vindy's on his ship and he's just shooting at you and then throws bombs and you throw the bombs back at him. But fortunately, this boss fight on the right takes a bit longer than the one on the left, so as long as he does actually throw bombs, it shouldn't be too big of a deal there.
And I throw them all back at him and not miss the cycle.
Yeah.
That does help.
Yeah, but you talk about, complicated 1P2C. There really doesn't get more complicated than doing 2 boss fights at once. It's quite literally just like playing 2 levels at the same time. Pretty impressive stuff. And that is the end of the right half, just in time too, since this is the end of the left half.
That's so fast.
Yeah, there's a cutscene that plays, in-game cutscene right after you press that lever, and then right after that cutscene, immediately the cinematic cutscene triggers. So skipping that cutscene just causes the cinematic to go faster. And that is the end of that level. We have only 3 more levels in this episode, and then we have the epilogue, which plays after all 3 episodes are completed. Now we're starting the Ryloth arc, so there's 3 different levels making up the Ryloth sequence, which is actually, I believe that's true to the television series. So this first one, we are being ambushed by some baddies, and so Anakin's plan is to commit a war crime and pretend he's surrendering, and then at the last minute throw his ship into the enemy ship and destroy them both. Which is indeed a war crime. You're not allowed to fake a surrender. That is illegal. But Anakin does not care about that, I guess. And so the sequence of this level is we have basically 2 different types of objectives. We have these objectives where you're shooting some turrets, and then we have objectives involving torpedoes. So the first section has 2 sets of those turrets, and then once you do that, some additional ships arrive, and you go up top here to pull a lever that I believe moves the ship forward during the cutscene. And while Anakin's doing that, Ahsoka's going to go ahead and turn on these torpedoes, since we'll need these to fight the ships that appear in the next phase of the level. So once this, I believe this is basically just a lever that's supposed to make the ship go forward. I think that's literally all it is. And again, dropping out does force the characters to go back into their ships. And you can also force Anakin to come back down to the bottom level here, which it makes it a lot faster than he doesn't have to take the ring to get back down here again. And so Ahsoka is going to be doing the torpedoes, throwing those around. And while she's doing that, Anakin has to do 2 more sets of these turrets here. And once you get all 4 of those objectives, so that the 2 sets of torpedoes on the side and the 2 sets of turrets, once those are all complete, then the last lever of the level can be pulled. And so 3 of those 4 objectives are already done, since Anakin's already done 1 set of turrets, and Ahsoka has thrown all of her torpedoes. So she's going to go get ready on that lever. Anakin is going to go ahead and do his last set of turrets here. And fun fact, they're not expecting you to be up here yet with Ahsoka, because they're supposed to put some battle droids in your way here, but they don't spawn in until all the objectives are complete, so you can already just be past them entirely when they spawn in, and they don't bother you at all. We're not anticipating well-routed 1P2C in the gameplay design here. And that's the first level of Ryloth done. The second level and third level of Ryloth are both very broken levels. These are probably the 2 most broken levels in the game. We're saving those for last here. So this first one is the Innocence of Ryloth. This is a pretty cool level. This is it's not a new skip, but I think it's one of the more recent major skips found in this game. You can do some pretty janky jumps on low FPS or high FPS, excuse me, up that wall. This wall has some really weird collision or this level has some really weird collision on the walls. So we can do that. And are you going to be doing that version of the next skip, or
Yes.
turret one? Okay.
The former.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple different ways to skip this next section. The one that Chess is going to be going for is going to be very similar to the beginning, though. Like we said, the collision on the walls in this level are really janky, and you are able to jump up the wall towards the end here as well. Normally, you're supposed to blow up that big wall that Chess jumped over, take all of your crew in here, and then open this door. And trying to open this door plays a cutscene. We have to go fight a bunch of these little guys and put them on all those panels on the side. But if you just do more janky jumps up walls like this, you can get over this big wall, and that bypasses all of this. And that looks like that's good.
There we go.
And that brings you to the second room. And fortunately, that is a trigger behind that door, so your whole party gets pulled with you. It would be very unfortunate if that was one big room and you did not have any of your party here. But fortunately, that's not how the level was designed, so we don't have to worry about that. And so now we need to open this big door, and suddenly, after we open this door, we're going to be in the middle of a mini ground battle section, since I guess they wanted more of those, which, it makes sense. This one is not very complicated, though. You just have to do a couple of quick objectives here after this box is in place.
Finally, they can reach up the platform.
Yeah,
the panel.
There's a couple of different turrets here, and we're gonna take control of these two by getting them onto low health, and then use them to blow up some of these other ones that we otherwise would not be able to destroy. Conveniently, they had some non-silver turrets here, which would help us destroy the silver turrets they also brought. It's very nice of them to bring both kinds. And once this turret is destroyed, there'll be another camera pan skipped here. That is a buffered camera pan skip. We're not able to do that with a normal dropout. But once Obi-Wan goes and pulls the lever to turn off the shield, this can also be shot at, and another buffered camera pan will be able to be gone for here. And once you do this last Jedi attack there, that turns off the ray shield and frees the innocent prisoners that the enemy took. And that's the end of that level. Only 2 more levels left in this game. And we have... I actually don't remember what the blank of Ryloth is in this level. I don't remember the name of it.
This one's Liberty.
Liberty on Ryloth. That's what it is. Okay. So this is a ground battle level, but it's actually not. It's supposed to be, but we're not going to be doing much of that. We got to get rid of this big bad thing. I don't know what this thing's called, but it's like a big tower thing that puts out electricity and kills everything. Got to get rid of that because that's in our way, and we don't like that. And then once we get that out of the way, our good friend, I believe that's Commander Bly. It might not be.
Pons.
Okay. It's Commander Pons. Alright. He's gonna destroy this ship so that we can take control of this command post. The reason we want to do that is because we need a very specific kind of ship over here. And this is the 2-legged walker guy that we saw a lot of in the first episode. And now that we have this, well,
go for the riskier version.
Yeah, okay. We're supposed to activate this bridge by turning on some quick little objects, but if you alt-tab, you can launch into the sky. And now this guy is all the way over here, and that completely skips the bridge. Yeah. And once you go through there, the level ends. So you don't need to do any of the normal, quote-unquote, normal stuff in that level. You can just skip the bridge entirely by flying into the sky. So that's awesome. Don't need to worry about that bridge. And now that that episode is done, that means all 3 of the main episodes are completed, which unlocks the epilogue, which is the level The Zillow Beast. This, I know, is a Season 2 episode, and I believe it's the latest episode covered by this game.
Ah, yes.
And this is another ground battle level. So I don't remember the lore of this, but basically we're trying to drop a bomb on this place where the big arrow is, and so we're gonna be doing that. And in order to do that, we need to destroy all the other stuff on that platform, and those things on that platform have other things protecting them. So we need to get a couple of ships here, particularly the gold laser guy, and eventually we're going to want a normal tank as well to take out a couple of things. But the gold laser guy is more important since there's a lot of gold things we need to get rid of, particularly these golden shield deflectors here, or I don't know what
Ray
they're
shield
called.
kind of
Ray
things.
shields. Yeah, ray shields. So once we get rid of all those, then that will free up the metal thing over here to be destroyed. And once that's gone, then we're able to take control of this command post and build a giant airstrike symbol here on the ground. And once that in the cutscene, they drop a bomb there, and it opens a big hole. And I don't remember the reason why we wanted that, but it accidentally awakens this big guy, the Zillow Beast, and that's not what we wanted. So now we're going to take control of a couple of command posts here, so that we can have 4 of those and be able to spawn in a bunch of the laser ships. And you might not have noticed this because it was not really a main focus of the first room, but Chess got an insane amount of studs in room 1, and so he's able to buy a bunch of different laser ship spawners so that more than one of them can take out this guy at once, which does... I think you need to do that, otherwise it doesn't work. And time is coming up.
Forgot to mention that part. We did.
Yeah. And that is the end of the game. Once you get rid of the Zillow Beast little necklace, that's the end of the game.
Well, we gotta purchase Gonk because we met
yes.
that incentive.
Of course.
But
You have an incentive for gonking around.
But it is pretty simple. So in this hub, there are 2 ships. There's the Republic Cruiser, the one that we're on right now, and then there's the Invisible Hand, which is the Separatist version. And though in the Invisible Hand lies Gonk. So we need to travel over there by opening these doors and get on over there. It's just a little stroll way over here. I'm going to see if I can do fun stuff, though, like that.
Oh. I've never seen that before. I don't even know what you just did.
So, because, you know those wall climbs, like in Innocence of Ryloth?
Yeah.
You can do it in the hub, too. So, with VSync off, some walls are climbable. And so I can get out of bounds through here, and it messes up the camera quite a bit, as you can see. The camera doesn't know what to do. And you can actually get over to the other hub area, over in this hub area, by doing that.
I've never seen that before. That's pretty cool.
That is one of the most fun spots to do it, and you can also do it on the left side. Or actually, I can do it like this. I got into it.
I hope you guys are all ready for the Gonk droid that's about to come into play here. I know I'm excited.
Rip. So, hey, on the right side, Anakin. He's going to be over on the left. Yeah.
What are the actual requirements to buying the Gonk droid? Or unlocking him, I mean.
Wait. Where is he? Oh, there he is.
There he is. Let's go, baby.
Gonk
That's a
droid.
Gonk droid.
I think it's just opening this door and he spawns in this room. I think.
Okay.
So I think you only need 20 gold bricks, which we actually just barely have because of any percent.
Yeah, he's pretty pretty fast compared to other Gonk droids. And Anakin's kind of doing a little dance behind you, trying to keep up. Did you see that?
He's trying to deflect bullets from over there. He's trying to get him. Yeah, can't jump. He has no sticker in the front, so he's bare bones. And yeah. This is Gonk. He doesn't make any noise, unfortunately. They really lacked out on him in this game.
Yeah. Any closing remarks here before the end of the game?
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. Chimkin, as always, thanks for commentating. You're a beast. You're awesome.
Thanks for having me.
I had a pretty good run. Well, good chunk under estimate. And yeah, thanks for